hopefully everybody can hear me. I deleted like, I don't know, 400 videos. So if my microphone doesn't work now, I really don't know what else to do to make it work. Because I think it was filled up with too much space. And I had to delete some stuff to be able to use my microphone. So can you all hear me? Can everybody hear me? Put on the dope ears. Can you guys hear me? Somebody say yes, please, or no, or something, so I know. Hello, John, but I know you're ready to kill. Okay, so I guess you guys can hear me, because otherwise somebody would have been like, we can't hear you. All right, so let's get down to it. I don't generally address like a Facebook fight on my page. However, this one personally touched me in the cockles of my heart, so I decided to chime in, not on behalf of one or the other, but kind of on behalf of both, I guess. More so on one side. I think we'll pretty much figure that out right away, whose side I'm more on than the other. But I do understand both sides, I guess. However, I think that the argument that started on my page earlier between two of my friends, I think it got out of hand, and part of it was not necessarily miscommunication, but maybe just like the way that the person was interpreting their feelings to the other person was not being received correctly for a number of reasons. One was female, one was male, so that's always a nice, interesting conversation of two languages being spoken to, two different people that don't understand each other. But also, because when something starts to get heated, a lot of times the original vision is lost and things start to get very passionate, whatnot. Anyway, let me get down to the point. There was a fight basically on my page about, a post that I made about men being done with men for, a while, or, maybe forever, kind of. I don't remember exactly what the post was. Anyway, see, because I say stuff and it's just little, and then, I move on. But basically, it didn't come from a non-place of truth in me at all. It definitely came from a real place of truth of just, wow, I've been bisexual my whole life. I actually knew that I was interested in girls before I knew I was interested in boys. A lot of people will dispute me on that, and I love when people dispute me on that. I'm like, thanks for telling me how I felt when I was a child. I actually had my first sexual experience with a female, not with a male. So, technically, the whole Chasing Amy, scene where they do the whole technical stuff and it blows dude's mind. Technically, I lost my virginity to a girl. And then years later slept with a guy, because I felt more comfortable with women way younger than with men. This is not to drag out this point, but being that I've been with both men and women in relationships, one thing that I have found that is very true is men tend to be a lot colder, especially in the end. A lot colder. However, the reason that I kind of have to battle on the side of the man that was arguing this girl's point on my side, that, you know, men tend to be kind of shit, and that's why we kind of are like, yeah, should we just give up on them? They're shit. Was that, you know, for one, not all men are like that. I do understand that. And number two, I have a very unique circumstance that I feel is being completely ignored in this argument, so-called argument. I don't have. I'm going to clear something up with John right now. No, I know you didn't blame me for anything, Allie. I got that, and I'm seeing stuff here and there, but I'm having trouble reading because I'm just trying to let you guys know what's going on with what I was reading from you guys, because it was kind of disturbing. But then at the same time, like, I was like, yeah, I get how, you know, other people see this way, and I want to connect. No, my temper is not with you, John. My temper's not with anybody. I'm trying to explain, when I've been in relationships, I don't think I have ever dated anybody really, that was like someone else. If you were to line up my exes in a row, not only would none of them resemble the other as far as looks, and I mean none of them, well, I would say maybe there's two of my exes that somewhat similar because they're same ethnic background and, you know, same kind of build. Other than that, really zero type. I don't, in the looks department and personality, like, the only thing that is a huge requirement for me is loyalty, love, and intelligence. And I know I've dated people that weren't intelligent, because I felt bad for them and I thought I could help them. And I've also been with people that were intelligent that scammed me very badly. But essentially, I've never really had a specific type. And I have been in a lot of very detrimental relationships, and I don't think that it's not my fault that I've been in these bad relationships, because I do think that a lot of it has to do with my choices, my inability to say I'm more important, my time is more important, and what I need to do for me and my life is more important than being this person's savior and help and, you know, getting them what they need and guiding them through life because they look so lost and so helpless. That's a fault on mine. However, in the 25 years that I've been dating and have been known for being Sarah from The Crow, it's also become unavoidably clear that there are deceitful, messed up, abusive, controlling, hurtful, scam artist, imposter, use you for everything they can take you for kind of people out there in every shape and form. They're like shapeshifters. And I think the point that Allie was making, that I felt so adamant that you understood, John, was that it wasn't about you specifically. If you have been a good person and you have been good to your partners, then that comment doesn't apply to you. That comment applies to people who it applies to, which is sadly a large majority of the men I've interacted with, and sadly a large majority of the men that I've found the women I know have interacted with as well. I wish that weren't true, but that is the truth. And I am never a victim. I'm always a survivor. So I don't, woe is me, this happened to me, poor me, yada yada. I don't do that. However, I take in consideration that you can't see what's not in front of you. You can't see what's being hidden from you. You can't see what's being deleted and just hoarded in someone's mind. You can't see what you're blinded to because of somebody else's filter of what they'll allow you to see about them or the situation. And so would I have liked to made better choices? Yes. But I know I wouldn't have made those choices unless I had been able to see clearly, like I did towards the end, which was why it was like a light bulb. But that's I don't know, that comment that I made, or that status that I made, and that stuff that she was saying was not directed at you specifically. You were not targeted as the one. And I guess, yeah, we were speaking generally of men in a general term, but I wasn't, I mean, it's, first of all, it was in jest, and second of all, as much as stereotypes suck, they're kind of accurate sometimes, and I don't know, it's like, I'm not saying that all men are like that. That's not true. Not all women are like anything. Not all, white people are like this. Not all black people are like that. Not all, anybody is like anything. You can't clump any certain group into any, one thing and say they're all this. it's very unfair to humanity in the way that people are individuals and very unique to their circumstances and upbringing and genetics and everything that makes them them. But that being said, or I should say, and that being said, there are still things that are common, with an average such and such. And I think the point that Allie and I were kind of getting to was not a personal attack on you and not a personal attack on guys that are out there that are, being good guys. Like, that's great. We need more of those. I'm trying to raise one myself, which is hard because it scares me. Like, that, I'll get a call from a girlfriend, like, telling me what a jerk he is, and I'll think, oh, no, not my son, But I think the general idea was that in our society, it's really bad how crappy and shitty and how low the bar is for men and how they treat women. And I know this sounds kind of crazy probably to say this, but there was a time where women couldn't vote, and there was still a kind of way about society that you spoke to women and dealt with women in public that was respectful. And now we have a little bit more equality, which we're still fighting for quite a bit. Watching some of the documentaries I've watched recently, it kind of makes me terrified, that it's 2018 and women are still fighting as hard as we are. But the fact that it is the year that it is, and we've, gained certain rights in certain areas, but yet the treatment of women by men on a daily basis as a standard, from what I see, is very bad. It's not good. It's so bad that whenever you meet a guy that's really, really wonderful to his wife or girlfriend, or just is what a guy should be, in my opinion, I always hear comments like, wow, what a great guy, or wow, chivalry's not dead, or, oh, well, there's still good guys out there, because I think at this point it's shocking when a guy is actually appropriate and kind. This is the age of dick pics and Tinder and, sorry to be disgusting, but pussy on command. And it's disgusting. And there's just no respect for women at that point, because it's just like, oh, they're just, they're disposable. I can swipe them on my phone, swipe them on, swipe them off. And I just think that's, I think that's the point that was we were getting to, and it wasn't directed specifically towards you. And the fact that you took it so personally, I apologize if you took it so personally, but it was not meant to be a personal attack on you. I hear things all the time about women and the way that women behave in this day and age. And it's not wrong. I mean, I don't like it. But it's not wrong. You know, I hear kind of horror stories about women, and I just think, oh God, those are women. They're not full of testosterone. They're not. Oh, they did what? And it really just baffles me, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm a woman. I'm not going to say, well, oh, I'm just like them. You know, oh, what a horror. I'm like her. No. Obviously, I'm not going to clump myself in with that group, but does it mean that a huge number of women in this society lately, especially in like America and, you know, more progressed cultures, are just more, I don't know, whatever about it, you know? And, yeah. So, I think that's, yeah, I guess that's, I don't know, maybe that's it. I just wanted to get some of that out because, I don't know. I think there are other points that were made during that argument that I didn't even get to because I got off on my own little rants on other things, but self-respect and respect for others, yeah. I agree. Let's see. And that's good, Alan. Like, I'm not saying this isn't like an attack on men. Like, I can't stand like when you say something and it's like it's an attack on men. And the other thing is like, boo hoo to you, all you men. Like, I don't want to hear you crying. Like, seriously, to be like a man in this society, first of all, let alone like if you're a white man, forget it. Like, pfft, you're like, sky's the limit, okay? Just shut up. I don't want to hear your whining about the fact that we don't like certain things that you do or don't do, like, and not even all of you, like, some of you. Like, seriously, like, is it really that big of a deal? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It was like, I watched the documentary the other day on Netflix, the new one, Reversing Roe. And that like hit me really deep in a messed up way that I really didn't expect. Not because of the subject matter of pro-life and pro-choice, because of something that was said that I don't think ever really occurred to me when I thought about that whole debate and it being the Supreme Court, you know, turning on the side of Roe and that people are trying to reverse that. When I heard this woman, I say this woman because I'm at a loss for her name right now, but not because she's not immensely famous and wonderful in the cause, but just because my mind's blank right now. But anyway, she made this statement at one point where she was talking about one of the basic human rights of people is to have control over your body. And that women realized at that point in that day and age, when it was taken to the Supreme Court, that if they didn't have control over their body, what other rights could they possibly ask for? And that really kind of broadened my eyes more so than anything had ever about that subject, because in my head I had already always compartmentalized it of, the political debate. And to me, being a very liberal person, if you want to be religious and be against something and not do it, or not be okay with doing it, or think it's a sin to do it, that's fine. But yes, I am. But it's not. It's John Gibbons doing PYT. If you want to be religious, that's fine, but that's your relationship to your God, and that doesn't have any, you don't have any right to tell anybody else to do what they're, with their body, what they're going to do. That's, even the Pope, our new Pope, had said it, that's their burden to carry on to the other side, to meet their maker with, if that's something they choose to do. And but politically, aside from all the religious stuff, because I'm not religious anyway, but politically, we're in a country here in America where religion should have nothing to do with what the state does, and the state should have nothing to do with, your body. Like, there's certain things that are just very weird about this whole the whole topic. But what really stood out to me more than anything, above all other arguments or any other thing that you could possibly complain or fight about with this particular subject, was, when it comes down to it, this is my body. And in our country, we are supposed to be free to have control over our body. And people that don't have control over their bodies are people that live under a dictator. And that, if women are the only people that don't have control over their bodies, then they're basically under the control of the entire world, the government, the men. And that really kind of woke me up a little bit to some things about, just my own particular feelings about myself and my personal responsibility on this planet, and what I teach people, and what I what I pass on. I made sure Desi watched that documentary. I wanted him to understand how important that is to women, to for him to be a boy. He will never quite understand what that feels like, to ever know what that's like, to feel like you could lose control over your own body because of your strength, your vulnerability, your size, and the fact that generally men tend to be more powerful. So I wanted him to get that lesson really young, that that's not just something he has a power in his hands or in his, in his spirit. It's it's an amazing privilege, really, because if given to the right person, it's used to protect and to keep you safe, to keep your loved ones safe. That's something I've been trying to teach him for a long time. Somebody I've been trying to teach him to be like for a long time. Dustin, yeah, I have a son named Destin. This is so funny. Clara is completely passed out, and she looks like a human. She's like laying on the couch like human. Like, what are you doing, Clara? Are you passed out? Take a little nappy. Yeah. Yeah, just waiting for Destin to get home. He's not home. You thought you heard him, but he's not here. Sorry. He's not. Anyway, she's Wonder Woman today. And the other thing I wanted to say, John, because I just saw that. Oh, I didn't see the whole thing, but yeah, I just read what you wrote a second ago, John, about, what if she stood up to them the way she stood up to you. But sadly, that's the problem. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we're scared to, and sometimes we love somebody that we don't think we should stand up to them because it's not what they need or what we need, or we rationalize things because we care, because we love somebody, because we put other people first. And I'm not saying that's right, I'm just saying that's what the reasoning is. And as far as abuse goes, like, it doesn't have to be physical necessarily. It can be emotional, it can be psychological. I've found the people that have been most abusive to me are the people that combined them. They use a little mental strategy abuse, and they combine that, with a little bit of, control, and then they top it off with a little bit of, physical intimidation to really, fear you into, not feeling like you're your own person anymore. And generally somebody like that's pretty messed up, like certain people that just left here. It's like they feed on that. They feed on it, and they have a whole plan to manipulate it. You know, it's not like it just comes out of the blue that you're like, well, wait, why are you doing that? Like, it's so subtle and it's so slow and it works so smoothly into just a normal relationship of love and what you think is everything right. And then the next thing you know, no. Now, with my situation, it can be quite different because I have just straight up scam artists. You know, for instance, I just dated somebody for 4 years that absolutely didn't love me one day of the entire time we dated. He just used me to meet people that he thought would help him, I guess, get into acting, which doesn't make any sense because he was never doing anything even remotely close to that when we were, like, talking about it. I used to ask him to go over scripts with me. He wouldn't. Probably using my name to go and bang girls is probably more what he used it for than actual, you know, networking to get jobs. So, you know, and that's always, you know, lovely when somebody spends 4 years completely pretending to be somebody that they're not at all, and just lies to you the whole time and pretends to love you. And, you know, looking back, it's so much more clear to me, you know, what he was doing, how he was manipulating it, you know, how he got away with it. But it wouldn't have been clear to me then because I loved him and I thought he really loved me. So, like, why would I be like, wait, do you really love me? You know, I mean, that's just not, it's not something I thought I had to worry about. But again, 25 years of dating and being Sarah from The Crow, because they're in sync. I was 14 the first time I had a boyfriend. Well, 15, I guess, technically, and 14 when the movie came out. So I've been dating as long as I've been this. And one thing for certain I've learned is I can't do both. And I can't quit being the little girl from The Crow. So therefore, that is the end of my dating existence. That is the end of my love life. So, it's a shame, but it just is what it is. And it's better to not always question somebody's loyalty, or, you know, if, like, out of the blue they're gonna turn into something they weren't, which has happened to me so many times, and usually pretty quickly because I'm pretty smart and I find out pretty fast. But there's been 2 occasions that it didn't happen so quickly, and I found out a little too long into it. And to not waste any more of my valuable time on this planet, that I can be doing way better things, I won't be doing that. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that cleared up some of that stuff there for John about that not being a personal thing. Just been the experience of this day and age. And I posted a funny comedian about it, so if anybody wants to check that out, she's hilarious. Deanne Smith. And she does a really funny bit about it. And, you know, comedy is always a great way to laugh at reality. And she makes some really good points. So, you know, I just think there's truth in it. Anyway, hopefully I can upload this to YouTube and make it a you know, a YouTube Crow's Nest podcast also. So, yeah, I guess that's it. I love my little calendar girl. Every day of the year. Alright. Love, love, love. Namaste.